So this is my Singapore Together package that the government gave us. They give to 80% of all Singaporean families. You can see it's like PPO. They give us cookies. As you can see, everything's red because it's the color of our Singapore flag. They even gave us a really cute tote bag. And this is a very traditional kind of drink, and it has red and tattoos for our face and a magnet. Singapore Together, we can fight COVID. Yeah. Hand sanitizer. They gave us, it's like the disposable plus the reusable face masks for your family, and little, like, I don't know what these are, patches of some sort you can put on your shirt. Yeah, so Singapore, it's really different. The way they're handling COVID, the way that they are trying to unite their country, it's really different than in the States. So why do they send all this stuff out and want to be all nationalistic? And it's because on August 9th, it's the National Day in Singapore. So it's the Independence Day of Singapore, kind of like July 4th in America. And they gained independence from Malaysia in 1965. So they celebrate by the Prime Minister giving a kind of State of the Union speech. There's also like a parade that's pretty cool. There's a lot of performances, like floats and things like that. I'm not sure how they're going to do it this year exactly, but that's what everybody watches on National Day, August 9th. And we mostly just like stay home and watch it on TV. But I think the most interesting thing was coming back to Singapore, and how they handled COVID was really an experience. So when we arrived, first of all, they're not letting anybody in Singapore who is not a resident of Singapore. No visitors are allowed, travelers, everything's kind of like closed down. But because my husband is Singaporean and I am a resident in Singapore, so we're able to go in the country and come home, to our house. And the interesting thing is, like, for 2 weeks, we had a very strict quarantine. The quarantine, if you don't abide by this quarantine, you could be fined 10,000 to 20,000 Sing dollars, okay? It's comparable to like 10,000 US dollars or so if you break this quarantine. That's how serious it is, but it really pays off because they only have 27 deaths in the whole country. I mean, given it's a really small country, but it's very crowded here, and only 27 deaths for like weeks. And this is due to the government's efforts to unite people, send you free gear. They even have these like dispensers, I don't know how to say, vending machines that have masks from the government. You just put in your IC number, which is like your kind of identification number, and you get like, I think you get 2 free masks or something. So that's really cool. And anyways, back to this quarantine, which was such an experience for me. When we arrived, then we got special permission to come home. Others, if you don't get that permission, you have to go to government designated quarantine locations. But we, because we have a baby, we signed up, and then we were able to come home. But still, you have to have very strict quarantine kind of stay at home, okay? It's not like easier. So what happens is they track you on your phone. Basically, you have to, check in. So they'll text you from the government. You check in 3 times a day, and GPS says your location, verifying you are at home. And if you are not at home, I don't know exactly what happens to you, but as I mentioned, there are fines. So 3 times a day, GPS tracking, making sure you're at home. The other thing they do is there's someone who literally comes to your house to knock on your door and make sure you're at home. and your whole family's at home, including baby. So every day somebody at a random time of the day will come by and make sure you're at home. Then the third thing is a video call. So somebody will call me on WhatsApp, which is an app they use here, and video call me, and I have to show them my surroundings so that they know that I'm at home and not like outside. Now, there was somebody who broke this quarantine like 30 minutes early. Let's say it's 2 weeks, right? Let's say it ends at 12 noon. They broke it at, let's say, 11:30, which is 30 minutes before, and they were fined. Yeah, that's how strict it is. And while I don't really feel comfortable with somebody like video calling me randomly and I'm like showing them my house and someone coming to visit me, as an American, you know, really valuing my freedom. But in this specific, you know, situation of COVID, I think this is what's needed. You need people to check up, because in the very beginning, they were also kind of like, oh, on the, you know, trust system or whatever. But then people would still go out and go shopping and wear masks, but not really take it seriously, this whole quarantining thing. But then when the government kind of really strongly enforced it, then the quarantine became like a real thing and they really followed up. But I think because of this, you know, Singapore is really doing their part, I think, to protect their citizens and not allowing other people to come in and not being, you know, having kind of a lot of complicated stuff happen. So anyways, I think it's quite remarkable, you know, what they provide and how they're trying to unite the country. I know for some it's like probably too much like imposing on your freedom. It's too whatever you want to call it. I know a lot of people will complain about all kinds of stuff, but for me it's like, you know, I want, you know, myself to be safe. I want my child to be safe. I want other people, let's say if I had it, I want other people to be safe. So I'm really thankful that they go through these procedures. And then we had a swab test actually. We were allowed to go out for 2 hours to get a swab test. And they even like ask you like, how are you getting there? Like, you know, you have to go in a designated taxi that has like windows rolled down, no air conditioning. So there's no kind of, so there's good ventilation. The taxi drivers had specific education about how to ventilate their taxi when taking people to swab tests. The swab test was, basically was in a line. It came through. It didn't take that long, and they just stick it all the way in. And I was like kind of coughing afterwards because it was kind of itchy and uncomfortable for me. You can imagine it's like this like brush thing that they go in. It's not just like a cotton swab. It's like a brushy thing. I don't know. And they take it out. Anyways, we both tested negative, thank God. So that's my Singapore COVID experience so far, but it feels really good to be back. People here wear masks. They strictly adhere to it. It's mandatory for everybody unless you're a baby under the age of 2. So yeah, but that gives me this peace in a sense because everyone's doing it. So because everyone's doing it and everyone really wants to save other people, respect the health of other people, protect other people and their families, then there is that sense of, you know, together Singapore, like we're doing it together. And that gives me like peace in my heart versus like you go to a place where somebody decides they don't want to wear it because they feel it impedes on their freedom. You're going to get in a fight with them. What are you going to do? It's hard if the government or the state governments don't impose it. It's really hard. It then turns into regular citizens, like, you know, getting in fights with other people. So I think that politicians need to do the right thing. They need to protect their citizens and they need to be bold and they need to take a stand for what is basic, what is right to protect people's health at this time. It's not a freedom issue. It's like a global pandemic, like huge issue that, you know, it's beyond just like your personal freedoms because you don't want to wear it. So this is one thing that I'm really proud of in Singapore.